Most men are taught a dangerous lie early in life. They are told that being understood equals safety, that transparency builds trust, that openness makes them good, mature, respectable men. So they learn to explain themselves early. They explain their intentions to avoid conflict. They explain their mistakes to avoid punishment. They explain their feelings to avoid abandonment. They are rewarded for this behavior. Teachers praise it. Parents encourage it. Society frames it as emotional intelligence. But the world outside childhood does not reward this trait. It exploits it. Because being understood does not make you safe. It makes you predictable. And predictability is weakness disguised as virtue. The moment another person can clearly read your emotions, your intentions, and your internal reactions, they gain leverage over you. Not because they are malicious, but because human beings are opportunistic by nature. This is not a moral flaw, it is biological reality. If I know what angers you, I can provoke you. If I know what excites you, I can bait you. If I know what you fear, I can control you. Most men walk through life emotionally naked without realizing it. Their face reacts before their mind does. Their voice tightens under pressure. Their posture collapses when challenged. Their body leaks information long before they speak a single word. They call this honesty. The world calls it exposure. In theory, honesty is virtue. In reality, honesty without control is liability. History confirms this relentlessly. Power has never belonged to the most expressive men. It has always belonged to the most contained ones. The kings who survived were never the loudest. The generals who won were never the most emotionally transparent. The rulers who endured were never fully seen. They were watched, but not understood, observed, but not read. Psychological unreadability is not deception. It is containment. It is the ability to feel without showing, to know without revealing, to decide without announcing. And once you begin developing this skill, something deeply unsettling happens. People stop trying to control you. Not because you threatened them, not because you explained yourself better, but because they can no longer predict you. And what cannot be predicted cannot be managed. In the next part, you'll see how people unconsciously test others for weakness, and why unreadable men shut that instinct down before it ever escalates. How people test you without you realizing. Human interaction is never neutral. Every conversation contains testing. Not loud testing, not obvious testing, but quiet, psychological testing that most men never notice until it's already working against them. These tests are subtle by design. A joke made at your expense that's framed as just teasing. A delayed reply to see if you become anxious. A dismissive tone to see if you seek approval. A passive-aggressive comment disguised as concern. These moments are not random. They are probes. Human beings constantly probe for position. They test boundaries. They test reactions. They test how much pressure you can tolerate before you bend. Most men fail these tests instantly. Not because they say the wrong thing, but because they react. They laugh nervously. They over-explain. They defend their intentions. They justify choices no one asked them to justify. And the moment they do this, the other person learns something critical. This man is readable. Once that conclusion is reached, the testing escalates. The jokes become sharper. The disrespect becomes bolder. The pressure increases gradually, just enough to stay deniable. This is how dominance forms without confrontation. Psychologically unreadable men respond differently. They register the probe, but they do not reward it with emotional reaction. No visible irritation, no forced smile, no defensive clarification, no rushed explanation to restore comfort. This creates uncertainty, and uncertainty makes people cautious. The human nervous system despises ambiguity. When it cannot predict behavior, it hesitates. When it hesitates, it stops pushing. That hesitation is power. Unreadable men are not mysterious because they hide secrets. They are mysterious because they control disclosure. They decide what leaves their inner world. They decide when it leaves. And they decide who earns access. This forces others to operate without a map. And people without a map slow down. In the next part, you'll understand why emotional control alone is not enough, and why most men still fail even when they believe they're staying calm. Why staying calm still makes you readable. Most men think psychological unreadability is simple. They hear the advice, stay calm, control your emotions, don't react. So they try. They hold their face still. They force a neutral tone. They swallow anger. They pretend nothing touched them. But the problem is this: forced calm is still a reaction. It's just a reaction in disguise, and people can feel it. Because suppression leaks. It leaks through microsignals, a clenched jaw, a tight throat, a forced smile that arrives half a second late, eyes that go cold too quickly, stillness that looks rigid, not grounded. That is not unreadability. That is emotional pressure trying to escape a sealed container. And the human brain is designed to detect that pressure. Why? Because before language existed, we survived by reading bodies. Facial tension meant danger. Stiff posture meant aggression. Sudden silence meant threat. So when you stay calm by freezing, you aren't hiding emotion. You're broadcasting that you're holding something back. And that broadcast becomes a weakness. A manipulator doesn't need your confession. He just needs confirmation that you're affected. Because once he knows you're affected, he knows the direction of your buttons. This is the difference. Suppression, you are fighting your emotion. Unreadability, your emotion is not driving you. Unreadability is not the absence of feeling. It is the absence of ownership. Most men are fused with their emotions. They don't experience anger, they become anger. They don't notice fear, they become fear. They don't feel excitement, they become eager and obvious. Unreadable men separate. They create a psychological distance between stimulus, emotion, response. The emotion still appears internally, but it does not flood outward. Unreadable men observe emotion like weather. This is irritation. This is pressure. This is the urge to explain. This is the urge to prove myself. They notice it like a scientist, and that observation creates space. In that space, choice becomes possible. This is why calm men feel heavier in a room. Not slower because they're trying, slower because they're not being pushed by impulses. They don't need to prove they're calm. They don't need to perform control. They are simply unhooked. And when a man is unhooked, he becomes terrifying. Because you can't steer him with emotion. You can't bait him with insults. You can't guilt him into compliance. You can't pressure him into explanations. He feels the trigger, and it dies inside the fortress. In the next part, you'll learn how most men expose themselves through speech habits alone, and why silence isn't just quiet, it's a weapon that forces others to reveal themselves first. Words betray you before you realize it. Most men don't lose power through what they do. They lose it through what they say unnecessarily. Speech is the fastest leak of psychological position. Not insults, not mistakes, not admissions. Excess. Most men talk too much not because they are stupid, but because silence makes them uncomfortable. Silence feels like danger to the untrained mind. It feels like judgment. It feels like rejection. It feels like loss of control. So they rush to fill it. They clarify things no one questioned. They explain intentions no one doubted. They justify decisions that didn't need permission. And every extra sentence quietly lowers their status. Because words are not neutral. Words are data. Tone is data. Speed is data. Word choice is data. Emotional coloration is data. When you speak too much, you give people a full psychological map of you. They learn what you care about, what unsettles you, what makes you defensive, where pressure works. Unreadable men understand this instinctively. They do not narrate their thinking. They do not walk others through their internal process. They do not give context to protect their image. They speak with precision, not volume. Short statements, clean answers, no emotional padding, no explanatory overflow. Not because they are rude, but because they are contained. They understand a critical truth. Misunderstanding is not a threat. Exposure is. Most men panic at misunderstanding. They think, if I don't clarify, they'll think badly of me. If I don't explain, I'll lose respect. If I don't correct this, I'll look wrong. But this is backwards. The man who rushes to be understood looks uncertain. The man who tolerates misunderstanding looks solid. Silence does something dangerous in social dynamics. It forces projection. When you don't explain yourself, the other person must fill the gap. And what they fill it with is not logic, it's their own psychology, their insecurities, their assumptions, their fears. This is why silence reveals more than speech ever could. The unreadable man lets others talk themselves into corners. He lets them expose their motivations. He lets them reveal their impatience, insecurity, or desire for control. He does not interrupt. He does not correct. He observes. And the one who observes holds the power. Because the man who speaks the least in a confrontation controls the frame. The man who controls the frame decides who is being judged. In the next part, you'll see how even when men say nothing, their bodies betray them, and how mastering physical stillness completes unreadability. The body always speaks, unless you train it. Even when a man learns to control his words, he often still fails, because his body betrays him. The body speaks faster than language, before logic activates, before intention forms. Most men don't realize how exposed they are physically. Nervous energy leaks through, shifting weight, tight shoulders, restless hands, rapid head movements, forced stillness that looks unnatural. These are tells, and human beings read them instinctively. You don't need training in psychology to feel when a man is unsure. You feel it in his posture. You sense it in his movements. You detect it before he finishes his sentence. Unreadable men understand this. They train the body to match containment. Not stiff, not rigid, but economical. No wasted motion. No unnecessary gestures. No reactive posture shifts. They move only when movement serves purpose. Stillness is not absence. Stillness is pressure. In any room, the man who moves the least controls the tempo. The man who controls tempo controls perception. Fast movement signals urgency. Urgency signals need. Need signals weakness. Slow movement signals surplus. Surplus signals power. This is why high-status men appear calm even in chaos, why their movements feel heavier, why their presence stabilizes the room. They are not trying to dominate, they are simply not leaking energy. When challenged, they do not flinch. They do not lean forward aggressively. They do not recoil defensively. They stay centered. Because reaction is information, and unreadable men starve the environment of information. This doesn't mean freezing. It means intentional movement, a deliberate pause before responding, a controlled shift in posture, eye contact without tension, breath that stays low and steady. The body becomes a sealed container. And when your body stops reacting, people feel it. They slow down. They hesitate. They second-guess themselves. Because on a primal level, humans distrust what they cannot read. And what they cannot read, they respect. In the next part, you'll understand why being too available destroys this effect, and why distance sharpens psychological authority instead of weakening connection. Why availability makes you readable. One of the fastest ways men destroy psychological unreadability is through constant availability. They answer immediately. They respond instantly. They are always reachable, always present, always on. They believe this signals reliability. In reality, it signals access. And access creates study. When people have unlimited access to you, they learn you, your rhythms, your moods, your thresholds, your limits. And once learned, you are no longer unpredictable. Unreadable men understand a hard truth. The more available you are, the more predictable you become. Predictability kills leverage. This doesn't mean disappearing dramatically. It doesn't mean playing games. It means structuring distance. Unreadable men are not emotionally distant. They are structurally unavailable. They do not answer everything immediately. They do not respond out of obligation. They do not allow others to dictate their tempo. This forces waiting, and waiting creates imbalance. The one who waits wonders. The one who wonders guesses. The one who guesses loses ground. Distance sharpens authority because it removes certainty. When someone cannot instantly reach you, they cannot instantly regulate themselves through you. They cannot confirm assumptions. They cannot extract reassurance. They cannot provoke reaction on demand. This creates psychological weight. Most men fear this. They worry. What if they think I don't care? What if I lose connection? What if they move on? This fear reveals the real issue. They are not afraid of losing people. They are afraid of losing validation. Unreadable men are willing to tolerate that discomfort. They understand that constant reassurance destroys polarity. Constant access destroys mystique. Constant availability
destroys respect. This applies everywhere. In relationships, in friendships, in business, in leadership. The man who is always there becomes background noise. The man who appears selectively becomes gravity. Unreadable men let others feel absence, not as punishment, not as manipulation, but as a natural result of self-direction. They have a life that does not pause on demand. And because of that, when they are present, it matters. Their words land heavier. Their attention feels rare. Their approval carries weight. This is not cruelty. It is
Containment. The man who controls access controls interaction. In the next part, we'll confront the biggest emotional resistance men face when becoming unreadable: the fear of being seen as cold, distant, or unlovable. Why unreadable men are called cold, and why that label is a trap. When a man stops reacting, something predictable happens. People become uncomfortable. Not because he did anything wrong, but because he removed something they relied on: emotional feedback. Most social bonds are built on mirroring. You smile, I smile. You react, I adjust. You explain, I regulate myself. When you remove that feedback loop, people feel destabilized. They don't know where they stand with you. And the human nervous system hates uncertainty. So it reaches for labels. They will call you cold, distant, arrogant, unemotional, detached. These words are not descriptions. They are defense mechanisms. They are attempts to reframe your control as a flaw so they don't have to confront their dependence on reaction. Here is the truth most men never accept. People who need emotional access to you will resent your unreadability. People who respect strength will gravitate toward it. Unreadable men are feared by manipulators and trusted by stable individuals. Because manipulators rely on reaction. They need emotional leakage to gain leverage. They need visible tells to pull strings. When they can't read you, they lose their tools. So they attack the trait itself. You've changed. You're not like you used to be. You don't open up anymore. You're hard to read. What they mean is, I no longer know how to control the interaction. Unreadable men do not rush to correct this narrative. They do not reassure. They do not over-explain. They do not soften themselves to be digestible. They let the discomfort exist, because comfort is not the goal. Authority is. This does not mean becoming cruel. It does not mean emotional withdrawal from everyone. It means accepting that not everyone deserves access to your internal world. Some people connect through respect. Others connect through extraction. Unreadable men learn to tell the difference. And here is the paradox that breaks most men's minds. The less you seek to be emotionally understood, the more people begin to trust you. Why? Because stability feels safe. Predictability feels weak. But contained strength feels reliable. In moments of crisis, people do not follow the most expressive man. They follow the calm one, the grounded one, the one whose nervous system doesn't collapse under pressure. Unreadability creates gravity. People stop leaning on you emotionally and start orienting around you structurally. This is the shift from connection based on reassurance to connection based on respect. And respect lasts longer than warmth. In the next part, you'll learn how to remain psychologically unreadable without isolating yourself, and how selective transparency preserves allies while starving threats. How to stay unreadable without becoming isolated. One of the biggest misconceptions about psychological unreadability is that it requires withdrawal. It doesn't. Unreadability is not isolation. It is selective transparency. Most men make the same mistake when they discover control. They swing too far. They shut down completely. They disengage emotionally from everyone. They mistake silence for strength in every context. That creates loneliness, and loneliness weakens judgment. Unreadable men do not close themselves to the world. They filter the world. They understand a critical distinction. Not everyone deserves the same level of access. You do not owe your inner world to everyone who asks, and you do not need to expose yourself to maintain connection. Unreadable men divide people into categories, often unconsciously. Those who need reassurance, those who seek leverage, those who earn trust. Most people fall into the first two. Very few earn the third. With allies, unreadable men are consistent, not expressive. They don't overshare emotions. They don't trauma dump. They don't constantly seek validation. Instead, they offer reliability. They show up when it matters. They keep their word. They act predictably in outcomes, not emotionally. This creates deep trust. Because trust is not built on emotional exposure. It is built on behavior over time. With adversaries, unreadable men offer nothing. No reactions, no emotional data, no access. They remain polite, they remain controlled, they remain distant. This starves manipulation. The mistake most men make is trying to be readable to everyone. They confuse openness with integrity. But integrity is not exposure. Integrity is alignment. Unreadable men are aligned internally. They don't need constant emotional exchange to feel real. This allows them to stay connected without being consumed. They laugh, they engage, they enjoy people, but they do not leak themselves. Their emotions are not public property. Their reactions are not communal resources. This balance is what keeps unreadability sustainable. Isolation breeds rigidity. Overexposure breeds weakness. Unreadable men live in the middle, present but not porous, connected but not available, open but not exposed. In the next part, we'll expose how modern culture actively trains men to abandon this balance, and why resisting that conditioning is one of the most powerful acts a man can take. How modern culture trains men to be readable. Modern culture does not reward unreadability. It punishes it. From a young age, men are trained to expose themselves psychologically and call it growth. You are told, talk about your feelings, be vulnerable, explain yourself, share your truth, open up. On the surface, this looks healthy. In reality, it creates predictable men. And predictable men are easy to manage. A man who broadcasts his inner state is simple to regulate, simple to manipulate, simple to pressure. This is not accidental. Systems function best when human behavior is transparent. A readable man reacts on schedule. He responds emotionally on cue. He can be provoked, redirected, soothed, or destabilized on demand. Unreadability disrupts systems. That is why it is framed as unhealthy. Privacy is labeled avoidance. Silence is labeled emotional unavailability. Boundaries are labeled fear. Control is labeled coldness. These labels are not diagnoses. They are compliance tools. They shame men back into exposure. Because once a man internalizes the belief that not sharing is wrong, he begins leaking himself voluntarily. Social media accelerates this. Men are encouraged to narrate their lives, explain their pain, display their struggles, publicly process emotions. This trains the nervous system to externalize instead of contain. And containment is power. A man who contains himself cannot be steered by outrage, cannot be destabilized by opinion, cannot be baited by noise. This makes him dangerous to narratives. So modern culture reframes unreadability as dysfunction. But look at who thrives. Leaders, strategists, operators, high-level decision-makers. They are not the most expressive, they are not the most transparent, they are not the most emotionally available. They are controlled. They speak when necessary. They reveal when useful. They remain silent when advantageous. Unreadability is not antisocial. It is anti-exploitation. The men who resist this conditioning are not loud rebels. They are quiet refusals. They simply stop leaking. They stop narrating. They stop explaining. They stop offering emotional access on demand. And when they do, something shifts. The world stops pushing them so easily. In the final part, we'll define the true cost of becoming psychologically unreadable and why most men will never be willing to pay it. The price of being psychologically unreadable. There is a cost to becoming psychologically unreadable. Anyone who tells you otherwise is lying. The first cost is misunderstanding. When you stop explaining yourself, people will fill the silence with assumptions. They will misinterpret your intentions. They will project motives you do not have. They will create stories that have nothing to do with reality. And you will not correct them. This is the first test. Most men fail here. They rush to clean up the narrative. They try to manage perception. They explain themselves back into weakness. Unreadable men endure being misunderstood because they understand a deeper truth. You cannot control perception, only position. The second cost is emotional distance. Some people will drift away, not because you became cruel, but because you stopped feeding their need for reassurance. They were attached to your reactions, to your availability, to your emotional labor. When that disappears, so do they. This is not loss. This is filtration. The third cost is solitude. Unreadability removes you from the herd. You are no longer constantly mirrored, no longer continuously validated, no longer emotionally synchronized with everyone around you. This can feel cold at first, but solitude sharpens perception. It strengthens self-trust. It hardens internal authority. And internal authority is the foundation of all external power. Here is the reward few men ever reach: freedom from manipulation. When no one can read you, they cannot provoke you, they cannot bait you, they cannot steer you emotionally. They are forced to deal with your actions, not your reactions. This shifts every dynamic. People stop testing you, stop pushing boundaries, stop playing games. Not because you demanded respect, but because your nervous system stopped giving them handles. Unreadable men are not feared because they are aggressive. They are respected because they are immovable. They are not loud. They are not dominant. They are solid. And solidity is rare. In a world addicted to exposure, containment feels almost supernatural. The final truth is this: you cannot be controlled if you cannot be read. You cannot be destabilized if you do not react. You cannot be manipulated if you do not explain. Most men will never choose this path. They prefer comfort. They prefer reassurance. They prefer being liked. Unreadability is not for most men. It is for the ones willing to stand alone, misunderstood, unexplained, unmoved. And once you cross that threshold, there is no going back. Because the moment you feel what it's like to be internally sovereign, you will never again trade that power for approval. That is psychological unreadability, and that is real power.